Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video, we will be talking about an extremely beautiful Syngonium called as the Syngonium Pink Splash. Now by looking at the plant itself, you'll get a fair idea why it's named as the Pink Splash. It's because of that beautiful pink variegation that tends to show up on the leaves of this Syngonium. Now this Syngonium, it is slightly rare. You might not find it in your local nursery, but you can easily find it online. Even though this plant is rare, but the care and the maintenance is very low, it's just like any other Syngonium. Now the Syngonium that I have is in its juvenile form, the mature form. I'll put up the image on the left hand side. You'll get a fair idea because my plant is still very young. Now as I said, this is a very low maintenance fuss-free plant, but you have to give the basic care requirements, and that's what we are going to be talking in this video. Let's start off with light. Light is the most important thing. If you want to have that good amount of variegation, that beautiful pink variegation on your plant, then you must offer a good amount of indirect bright light. Do not expose this plant to direct sunlight, otherwise the leaves will get damaged. You can grow it indoor, you can grow it outdoor. If you're growing it indoor, ensure you're keeping it closer to the windowsill, wherein it receives a good amount of indirect bright light without the sunlight or the sun rays falling directly onto the leaves. Do not keep it under the air conditioning vent or the heater, otherwise that will again damage the leaves. Now talking about the soil mix, the soil that I have used over here, which is my regular soil mix, which is a mix of coco peat, garden soil, sand and perlite. You can see there is a little bit traces of perlite in the soil. The perlite is going to make the soil mix very loose and airy. Sand is going to make the soil mix well draining. Garden soil will give the basic minerals and the natural nutrients to the plant. And coco peat is going to maintain that slight amount of moisture, because this plant prefers a slight amount of moisture but not soggy wet soil. Apart from that, please use a container or a pot that has a drain hole so that the excess water can drain out. Because if you're going to let the water sit in the pot, there is a high chance that this plant can get a root rot. Talking about watering, whenever you see around 1 to 2 inches of the upper layer of soil is dry, you can go ahead and water it. Now guys, again, the watering topic, I leave it up to you because this is something that you'll have to individually check and water. During summers, the frequency of watering is going to be more, and during winters, the frequency of watering is going to be less. So this all depends upon your environment, the type of soil mix that you have used. So this is something that I leave up to you because you have to check it individually and only then go ahead and water it. Because for some people, the soil mix is going to be very different. For some people, the soil mix might take a little longer to dry. For some people, it might dry out faster, because this all depends upon your soil mix and the type of environment you are in. People who are from a drier environment will have to do a little bit more frequent watering as compared to people who are from a very humid environment. But the thumb rule remains the same. You have to ensure that the upper layer of soil around 1 to 2 inches is dry, and only then go ahead and do a complete watering until the water starts passing through the drain hole. Now talking about fertilizers, I would say avoid adding fertilizers during the winter season, because that's when the plant tends to slow down its growth. You can give the fertilizers during the summer or the warmer months, because that's when the plant gets into its active growing period. Talking about pest issues, usually this plant does get affected with mealybugs. Spider mites, scale insects are very rare, but ideally you have to check the stem area. That is where the mealybugs tend to attack this plant. You can also do a visual check once in 2 weeks or once in 3 weeks. Try to treat the bugs at the early stage. The earlier the much better. Do not let it reach to an infestation stage, because that's when the problems will start and the plant is already very weak. And then if you happen to spray anything on the plant, be it organic, be it any chemical, that is going to damage the plant further. And a lot of times the plant cannot recover back once it is completely infested with any kind of insect for that matter. Not only mealybugs, spider mites, or even for that matter scale insects as well. So the earlier the much better. Now talking about propagation, one of the best method of propagating your Syngoniums is through root divisions. That is one of the best method, and that turns out to be one of the successful method of propagating Syngoniums. I have already made a video on it. If you haven't watched that, I'll put the link in the description below. You can check it out. It's a very easy and simple method of dividing and multiplying your Syngoniums. Now talking about, is this plant toxic? Yes, Syngoniums are toxic, so ensure that you're keeping this plant away from the reach of small children and pets. If the leaves are ingested, it could lead to problems, so ensure that you're keeping this plant away from the reach. Apart from that, this is an extremely beautiful plant, as you have already seen the juvenile form as well as the mature form. As and when the plant tends to mature, the leaf shape also tends to change and the variegation also tends to increase. Right now the variegation is in a very minimum stage on this plant, but as and when the plant starts to mature, the variegation will also increase on this plant. So it looks absolutely beautiful. If you are a person who loves pink variegation or pink plants, so with pink leaves, then this is one of the plant you can add in your collection. Of course, there are more Syngoniums which have more pinks on them, but this is one of a very unique looking plant that you can add in your collection. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.